The last battle that we actually talk about with World War One is the Third Battle of Ypres, sometimes referred to as Flanders Fields, but the British almost always refer to this particular battle as Passchendaele. This is one of the worst slaughters in all of World War One. In fact, even though the poem on Flanders Fields was written about the first and second battle of Ypres, it a lot of times is associated with the third battle of Ypres. If you are not familiar with On Flanders Fields, the poem, I highly recommend that you look it up and you know it. It's very, very important in terms of wartime literature. But the Battle of Passchendaele is real simple. The British have held the low ground for 3 years, and they're not able to move. And they decide, under the leadership of British General Haig, the same guy who was involved with the Battle of the Somme, that they want to push through and they want to advance 9 miles to Passchendaele. That is their strategy. And all of this comes from the fact that they're stuck. They can't do anything. This particular area didn't have any railroad tracks, which meant everything had to be carried forward by a pack mule. There was a 10-day bombardment, and there was a 14-day rain. There were over 4 million shells fired by the British on this rain-soaked area. They will make it to Passchendaele, which they thought that they could advance those 9 miles in the first day, on the last day of the battle. Literally, it takes them 5 months to move forward 9 miles. The losses are so high that the British never fully reveal how many soldiers they lost. The Germans will lose right around 100 to 120,000 men. The British will claim their losses were only about 280,000, but they never reveal the full count. Historians have went back, and it's pretty easy to see, in some cases, like with Britain, how many men they lost, because if men went into Passchendaele and didn't come out, they died. The losses were well over 400,000 soldiers. This ruined Haig's career, and it was devastating on the British psyche. They were beaten so bad at this latter part of the war. And it really carries over after World War I's over, because as we're going to talk about later, the British people are opposed to war in the 1930s. Even if they were attacked, they didn't want to fight back. And this war was that deadly, it was that destructive. And what we've tried to do with all the battles that we went through is I've tried to show you how deadly, how destructive, and just how demoralizing this war has been, especially for the British and the French. You know, when it's all over, the Germans are going to feel slighted. They want revenge. But the British and the French hope that they never have to go to war. And that plays a very important role in the 1920s. It plays a very important role in the rise of Hitler. It plays a very important role with the countries of Europe just hiding to make sure that war doesn't happen until finally war is thrust upon them and they don't have a choice. Now, life in the trenches we've already talked about somewhat. I'm going to direct you to some pictures in just a second. Please be aware that the United States will come involved in World War One on the side of the British and the French. After the sinking of the Lusitania, the breaking of the Sussex Pledge, or the Sussex Pledge, as some people now pronounce it, which was kind of silly. We wanted the German submarines, the U-boats, to not sink a ship until everybody could get off of the ship. Well, a battleship could blow a submarine that's on top of the water. It could blow it like a boomerang and just utterly destroy it. The submarine's only real advantage is being underwater. All of those are factors that lead up to the most deciding factor of the United States getting involved in the war, and that's the discovery by MI6 in Britain of what's known as the Zimmermann Note, which where Germany supposedly tried to get Mexico to declare war on the United States, keep us occupied over here, and if Mexico would do that, when the war was over in Europe, Germany would make sure that Mexico got back all the territory it had lost to the United States. Of course, this doesn't go over with us. Some people believe that the British kind of embellished what happened. Of course, if you're not familiar, MI6 is from where we get, James Bond during the Cold War period. Now, for the sake of the home front, I just want you to go through and read these particular slides on the home front. If you have any questions, please ask. The Russian Revolution was actually written from the point of view that you could actually go through and read these notes. You definitely need to read these notes. Make sure that you understand, for example, like on this slide where it says 1914, 1916, the Russians have suffered 2 million killed and 4 to 6 million wounded or POWs. Some historians believe that number is a lot higher, especially on the killed aspect of the numbers. Some believe it might have been as high as 4 million killed. As we go through this, just realize that the government did not trust the Tsar, Nicholas II. They thought he was cursed. And the fact that Alexandria was German and she was under the influence of Rasputin all just created more and more problems for the Russian royal family. And it all comes down to the fact of whether or not the Russians want to continue to fight or whether or not they don't want to fight. And this is literally where you get the sides of the Mensheviks who wanted to continue to fight the war and try to win. They also wanted a socialist government. And then you have the Bolsheviks, who are the communists by Lenin, who want to end the war, want to grab power, and then they want to potentially, through a communist revolution, they want to take not only all their territory back, but they want to take also parts of Europe. They believe that Lenin believed that after World War I was over, that Europe would be so destroyed that it would be very easy for this communist revolution to take place. Lenin, of course, was a great speaker. Peace, land, and bread. Follow me, I'll give you peace. Follow me, I'll give you land. And follow me, and you have something to eat. All power to the Soviets. This is the worker councils, or what we might call the union leadership in America. The fact that if you follow me, all power will be given to you, the workers. I will not have the power, you will, so to speak. Very popular statements. Lenin definitely knew how to talk directly to the Russian people. You see here the problems with the provisional government. This comes directly from a Russian history textbook. And then, of course, we get the why did the communists and Lenin win? Right here is where we really need to pick up. And every section after this is a reason why. Now you see that the Red Army was better than the White. They controlled more of Russia. They were better organized. They won the support of the people. They used the secret police. But the one I want to point out to you is Operation Polar Bear. Operation Polar Bear really started in 1917 and 18. And actually even into 1919, even though it was a lost cause at that point. And it will continue in some degrees of farming equipment, things like that after. But Britain and the United States really did not want the communists to take over Russia. So they sent a bunch of troops, approximately 100,000, to try to assist the non-communists in defeating the communists. And this really backfires on in our face because Lenin had already been teaching that if the Russian people did not follow him, that outsiders would slowly take over Russia. And to put this real simply, when Operation Polar Bear started, it went wrong from the beginning. Every time that people saw or were aware or sometimes reported, and it wasn't completely accurate, that there were outsiders, there were soldiers in Russia, they started uniting in a wave of Russian patriotism behind Lenin. This does not mean that they were all communists. In fact, most of them probably didn't know what communism was. All they know is that this man Lenin was promising to keep Russia in the hands of Russians. And this backfires in us in such a way that this is extremely important for you to know, because when the war is over in Germany, instead of us coming in and occupying Germany, we were afraid of a backfire like this, that we allowed the Germans to try to take care of the own problem themselves, and that really blew up in our face. You, of course, can look at all this. You can look up information about the Russian Revolution online. The thing that I would like to do now is to show you where you can see some really good pictures on World War I. It's called theatlantic.com. It has a lot of really, really good information, a lot of really good pictures. We're not going to go through them all in this recording because you can do that on your own. But you see, like an introduction, the Western Front, World War I technology, animals at war, warfare, soldiers, civilians, war at sea, global conflict. All this information you can see. And what I want you to see when you look at this, one, I want you to look at the trenches. Look at how horrible the conditions were for the good guys, but for Germany, the trenches were a lot better because for the most part, the German soldiers stayed in those trenches until they died. I want you to look at all the destruction, all the battlefield information. And my hope from this is that you get we went through the verbal introduction of what happened. I hope you now get to see the visual aspect of how damaging and how much destruction that was truly done. Now, this is really what I hope to accomplish with this recording. I hope that you look at this information. I hope you read through those slides. If you have any questions, do a little bit of research, maybe look stuff up, or even ask me when we're in class.